Okay, so what's it like to actually live here in New Zealand? If I can sum it up in two words, it's easier. It's easier because there's less people. It's easier because there's more space. It's easier because the weather's better generally. It's brighter, it's sunnier, it's warmer than, depending on where you're from, obviously. But if you're coming from the UK or the Northern Hemisphere, then certainly the weather is better. And it's just more laid back. It's more relaxed. People are friendlier. I mean, New Zealanders are famous for being friendly, but of course you'll get people, good and bad people, wherever you go in the world. But generally, as an overall thing, people are happier. I think New Zealand was voted the happiest country in the world last year, and it seems to get that award every year. We're also the second or third or even the most least corrupt country in the world because we've got a small population. We can, hold our government to check more than other countries can. Not mentioning a certain guy with a wig. no, not even going there. Anyway, New Zealand, for us, we moved here 15 years ago, didn't know anybody here, didn't know anything about New Zealand really. So it was a big leap of faith for us, and we wanted this better lifestyle, but we didn't know what that was. We had an idea that, there was beautiful beaches and there was lots to see and things to do, but we never lived it. We didn't really know. I mean, luckily now, 15 years later, I can tell you the lifestyle in New Zealand is great. I absolutely love it. I never take it for granted. I feel really lucky to be able to live in New Zealand. But what is that lifestyle? I mean, what does that actually mean? Now, the great thing with New Zealand is you can have whatever lifestyle you want. If you want to live in a big city like Auckland and live in an apartment and have the hustle and bustle of city life, but still be in a beautiful city that's surrounded by the sea and scenery and parks and everything else, then Auckland, fantastic, like that, central Auckland. If you want to live in Auckland, but you want to be a bit more rural, or you want to be more on the outskirts, you can do that as well. If you want to live outside Auckland, which is obviously a lot less people, by a lot less, you have to put in perspective. Auckland has a population of about 1.5 million people. New Zealand as a whole has a population of 4.5 million. So the next biggest cities like Wellington and Christchurch have a population of, 200,000 or 300,000. So they're much, much smaller than Auckland. So there's Auckland and then there's the rest of New Zealand. But, if you want a rural lifestyle, you want to live in the countryside on what we call a lifestyle block over here, which basically means a house with some land, usually an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, whatever it is. If you want to do that, you can do that. The best thing about New Zealand is you can do that in Auckland if you want to. So I actually live on a lifestyle block in Auckland. So we live on a house that's got a large garden. We're renting. A lot of people in Auckland do rent because it's Auckland, like every major city, London, Sydney, New York, whatever. People rent. It's just what you do because the house prices are ridiculous. So we rent this lifestyle block. It's got about 3 acres of land. It's in Auckland, but it's further south. It's south of just towards the southern end of Auckland. It's right by the motorway, literally 2 minutes from our door. When we're at home, all we can see is fields and trees and cows and sheep and everything else. 2 minutes from our door, we're on the motorway. 25 minutes, we're in the centre of Auckland. So it's you can have a mixture of those lifestyles, and that's the great thing. You can live by the sea. In fact, you're never more than 200 kilometres from the sea wherever you are in New Zealand, or you can live in a city, or you can do whatever you want. And for me, that was amazing. And we've moved around quite a bit in New Zealand. When you actually make the move here, you'll find that moving around is quite easy to do. You change your job, you move to another city. There's no family or people keeping you in one area. You've got the whole country to explore, and you certainly should when you get here. So that's part of it. The weather, this is a big one, I know, for people. I'm not sure why, but it is. When we say that the weather is better, now I'm obviously making a comparison to the United Kingdom, where I'm from. What that means is, if you're on the North Island of New Zealand, it's a very temperate climate, so it's quite mild. So in other words, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. So typical temperatures here in Auckland are around 12 degrees in the winter and about 27 degrees in the summer. Not too hot, not too cold. Summers over here are much longer than you get in the UK. They do last for months. The other big difference is during winter months here, it doesn't get dark till about 6 o'clock in the evening. Now in the UK, it gets dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so that's a big difference. We have more daylight, we have longer daylight, we have longer summertime hours, and we have more holidays than you do. So, it's all about the lifestyle, and holidays are a part of that. If you go to the South Island, obviously things do get cooler, you get a bit more snow. You don't get any snow in Auckland at all, ever. But the South Island does have snow in the winter, but it's beautiful. It's usually on the mountains, and skiing's available. There's skiing on the North Island on the mountains. There's surfing. In fact, in New Zealand, you can go surfing and skiing on the same day if you wanted to. Surfing in the morning and drive up to the mountains and go skiing in the afternoon. It's endless. It's endless, the amount of things you can see and do here. If you've got children, you're going to be wondering about education and how that works. We were voted the #1 education system in the world again, I think, last year, and that is pretty impressive for a country with 4.5 million people. My children have been through everything from nursery school right through to college, and further, and our experience has been fantastic. They've had every opportunity. The qualifications they've got are recognised around the world. They can go anywhere they want in the world if they want to, and take those qualifications and experience with them. And they're just given a bit more freedom, I think, because there's less people here. They get more time to learn and do the things that they need to do. Younger children in New Zealand are treated more like children. They're given time to grow up. There isn't this pressure to be older than they actually are, if you know what I mean. They don't have to be as streetwise because we're a little bit safer here than other countries. So they are allowed to be children longer, and that's great. Even things like, I know, for example, in countries like the UK, you get fined if you have a holiday in term time. In other words, you want to take your child out of school for a few days when they're supposed to be at school because you've got a holiday to go on, and you can get fined for that. They can even try and stop you doing it. In New Zealand, we found it was the opposite. We were encouraged. It was like, well, okay, look, here's the work. Make sure they take this work away. They can catch up with that whilst they're away or when they get back. But the view was very much that the holiday that they were going on was just as important as their education, because they're still learning, and it was educational for our children to go to America with us or whatever. So, it's a different outlook, I suppose, over here in that way. Things seem to make a little bit more sense in New Zealand, and that's why I love it. And I could go on forever about how it works, but if you are looking for a more laid-back lifestyle, a lifestyle that is still full of opportunities, that is still going to give your children great opportunities in a country that is, geographically absolutely amazing. Everything from deserts to mountains to beaches and volcanoes and everything else that you want to see. New Zealand is absolutely unique, and we're really lucky to be able to live here. But if you want that sort of lifestyle, and you've got the skills and experience that we need here in New Zealand to help us grow, then you can do this and you won't be disappointed. I've met very, very few people who actually come to New Zealand and say, nah, that's not for me, or it wasn't what I thought. You will go through a period of settlement where you will feel a bit unsettled, but you will get through that. And once you're through that, then, in my opinion, there isn't anywhere better to live in the world than New Zealand. I've been here 14 years, totally settled. I never say never, but at the moment, no desire to go and live anywhere else. And, I'd love to see you do the same. So if you have got questions about what it's like to live in New Zealand, how the health system works, what the schooling's like, what opportunities are available, what's the job market like, what's the house prices like, what's food cost, anything like that. All these questions that are burning in your back of your mind, you'll get the answers to those questions in a consultation with me, a one-to-one via Skype that you do, where I get the information from you that I need, I work out all your options, and then we talk. And as part of that conversation, if you've got questions about New Zealand and lifestyle and what does that actually mean, then have the consultation. I'll answer whatever questions you've got, and the consultation will take as long as it takes. We do it via Skype, so via computers like this, so that you can do it in a time that suits you, and it's followed up with email as well. So everything to gain, nothing to lose. If you want to find out more about New Zealand, then I would love to talk to you. There's my email address. Send me an email, send me your CVs if you've got them. I'll have a look through them. If I think that we can actually be of benefit to you or give you advice that might help you, then I'll get back to you and let you know. And because you're on this webinar, I'll actually offer you a discounted consultation with me, and we can see where we go from there. So I look forward to talking to you soon.